Well, just want to thank everybody who stuck around for that first segment. Interesting topic that was. So many people have had out of body experiences, and to hear somebody who had some one that was that detailed and that vivid was pretty cool. Um, well, now we have something very special for you right now, and it was about a year and a half ago, actually maybe a little bit longer than that. I had the opportunity to speak with a gentleman who was actually a part of a Planet X cult, the cult of Nibiru. You're probably thinking to yourself, I didn't even know those existed. Well, they do. And you don't hear about them. They're not actually front page news that I can think of anywhere. But there are groups who have begun to band together in fear that Planet X is right on our doorstep. Now, that's a mantra we've been hearing for well over 20 years in the Planet X Nibiru Wormwood community. And our special guest that we have on tonight was actually very, very deep into one of these cults. His name is Jim. If you haven't heard the audio that we have from over a year and a half ago, we have two segments that we just relinked to our YouTube page, the Nemesis Project. That's the Nemesis Project on YouTube. And they're interviews with a former believer. Now, Jim is with us tonight. Jim, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello, everybody. Hello, Jeff. Long time no talk.
Hey, it's great to hear from you. It's great to hear that accent, too. It's just, I don't know what it's about Americans, but we love accents. But anyway, it's really great to talk to you. And first of all, I just want to congratulate you because I know what you've been through, and I want to get that out of the way, out of the way. But I still want you to give us your story, what you've been through. Jim, for those of you who aren't familiar with him, was very deep into a Planet X cult, and he went through some very harrowing things, and some of that stuff is uploaded on those two interviews that we have on the Nemesis Project channel. And but today is a little bit different. Jim, since he's gone through what he's been through, and what he's doing now is like a complete 180. And just want to give him the opportunity to tell his story. Jim, now if you wouldn't mind, if you could just refresh maybe some people who have heard your earlier interviews, and maybe new people too, they can get familiar with what you went through in regards to the cult that you were part of.
Yeah, of course. It was basically a small commune outside of Wales, a small cult, I should say. No more than 12 people, if I remember right. And, it was, first and foremost, a cult. It was very, very mind-warping. Everyone there was very fearful of Nibiru and what was to come, sort of a doomsday prophecy. Um, and I was in there for a couple of years, actually. I endured a lot of psychological trauma, uh, and mental trauma, and that fear has brought me to where I am today. Um, Ever since I escaped from being in that cult, I've actually tried to turn my life around. Uh, after after that happened, I started joining online chats, forums, things like that, and now I've actually been helping people through their mental states. It started just as messaging people, started as talking to them, helping them through anything, and that kind of blossomed into what I do now, which is motivational speaking and sort of helping people, being a life coach, from what I've gone through, using that as a catalyst, to being where I am today.
Oh, that's fantastic, and what you went through is really harrowing. Now, um, I understand when you left the cult there, and that was in Wales, correct? Where was that?
Yeah, it was. A little bit outside of Wales, yeah, close.
Right, right. Yeah, I know you don't want to give away the location, and I don't blame you, especially being through something like that. But um, what if you can kind of bridge that last day or night when you were at the cult, and we use the term cult not in the sense of like a real evil, dark, menacing cult. It was a group of people who were living together in commune who believed that Planet X was going to destroy the Earth. So the term cult can cover a lot of different specters, and this is one of them. Now, for you to actually, I understand for you to actually leave the cult, it wasn't a matter of you being able to just ask and you could go, correct? You actually had to escape.
Yeah, that's correct. Me and my companion, uh, as that kind of happened when we were in the cult, we noticed, uh, you know, what we talked about last time, that it was the same thing every day. It was the guy who was talking about this doomsday thing that was right on our door, right on our doorstep, and that was every day. And you're just in this loop of fear, this endless loop, recycling fear over and over again. Um, and as time went on, we realized that's what was happening. And it wasn't so much under threat of death or anything like that that we couldn't leave, but it was more of like a liberation as to why we escaped. It was like in old times you read books about people being exiled, and that's kind of how we are and what we did, the decision we made on ourselves, that group. We were liberated from that mindset and we escaped. Sounds funny, but we escaped in the night. Um, just walked out and never looked back.
Interesting, really interesting, and I understand that that group is no longer together, correct?
I don't think so. I think most of the members have disbanded, but I haven't really kept in touch.
Okay. Okay. Well, I know it's tough for you to talk about, and we don't have to go down that road again. But thank you for sharing what you have thus far with us. Now, can you talk a little bit about some of the work that you're doing now? Have you had the opportunity to help anybody um, you know escape from this perpetual, like you're a hamster on a wheel in a cage, and you get the same stories day in and day out, but nothing ever changes. Have you ever had the opportunity to help anybody yet?
Yeah, I've actually had a few people that have been directly related to the Nemesis. Excuse me, I said Nemesis, the Nibiru. Um, I've had a few people that have been directly related to the Nibiru side of things, and that was when I started on forums and chat sites with people who were really scared. And I kind of talked with them, gave them an idea of what I went through, and let them know, you don't have to be so scared. This is ruling your life right now. And that was for, I'd say, about 3 or 4 people. And to this day, I believe that I've helped them escape that mindset of being scared every day because of this looming planet or system.
No, that's great. You know, it isn't easy work, I know, because people, I've come across people that have told me that they wish it would happen, just so they could get a sense of relief from all this. That's really a kind of a twisted mindset if you think about it. They want all this destruction to happen just so they can get relief from having to think that it's coming every day. you know, and if you've been able to help people like that is really good. I know you're just beginning. It hasn't been going on long for you, But we've had the chance to talk a little bit before this interview today, and anybody who is having difficulties with this whole Nibiru Planet X thing, we've set up a contact. You can actually email us here, thenemesisproject at yahoo.com. That's thenemesisproject at yahoo.com. And anybody who's having issues or troubles, we will get you in contact with Jim, and he is more than happy to help you. He doesn't charge a single penny for anything he does. This is all done out of his desire to see others not go through what he went through. Um, Now, Jim, I understand that you're going to be working on some seminars here coming up shortly. Could you talk a little bit about what's going on with those?
Yeah, of course. The seminars I do, I'd more equate them to motivational type speaking. Um, I try to keep my mind clear of any of the Nibiru side of things now, that have kind of broken free of that. So the seminars I'm doing, they're very motivational. I get people from all walks of life that come through, and while they might not be big, I try to make them as powerful as I can make them. And I share my story. I share my emotional and psychological trauma that I went through. And a lot of people share that same type of infliction that they've had. While it might not be from the same source, it's definitely the same kind of trauma that they went through.
Do you ever get anybody that isn't like has no clue what Nibiru or Planet X is about?
Yeah, I've had a few people like that. A lot of times it takes some explaining, but mostly what I do is try and boil it down to, if you've ever been fearful of something, imagine living your life like you're going to die the next day for 2 years and having someone tell you you're going to die. And that's what I equate it to. And that usually hits home with people and strikes a chord, and they understand what I went through after I explain it that way.
I've never heard it put like that, but that hit home with me because you see it every day, either on YouTube or other media platforms, where people are putting out videos that are saying, Planet X is here, here it is, it's on our doorstep. Prepare, 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 prepare. And what are you preparing for? You're preparing to prepare. It's not like they're preparing for anything other than preparing. Nothing has come. There's no evidence of anything in our solar system other than
Yeah.
what should be there. And it's fascinating to me how we continually see these videos churned out day after day after day. Now, I'm sure some of them, some of these websites and channels have really good intentions. They're just not. They haven't either been around long enough to see a much broader picture of the Planet X Nibiru phenomenon. Um, you know, I can understand how it'd be so easy to get caught up into it and the emotional side of it. And it sounds to me like that's where you really struggled was with the emotional side of things.
Yeah, and that's kind of what grabbed me in was the emotions, the fear. That was really what grabbed me into it at first. Um, so you're exactly right.
Yeah, and the emotions are very high. You should hear some of the debates that go on between different organizations regarding Planet X. It's fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating, and it's the same stuff that's been going on for 20 years. Um, it's really awesome, Jim, to see that you're helping people the way you are, and we just all take our hats off to you. And it's wonderful to know that you're doing well. I talk to a lot of people, and they aren't all interviews, obviously, but I do have the opportunity to talk to a lot of different people who are either part of the truther movement, who are into the esoteric arts, who are into Planet X. There's this whole thing that would kind of wrap into conspiracy theory, so to speak. And I have to say, it's really refreshing to hear a story like yours, or somebody who's waking up in a much broader way. You know, there's truth, and there's the truth, um, and you know, it's great to see you are where you are now. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, and I've been meaning to have the opportunity to ask you this since the last time we spoke, and I remember there was someone who you got out of the cult with, and you were fairly close at the time. I was wondering if you're still together, if anything has happened with that, how that person's doing.
I haven't talked to her too much. After that whole thing happened, we both kind of needed to be how I am right now, really nomadic, kind of alone, and really need to break away. I really hope that she's doing good. The last time I spoke with her about was a year ago. She was doing fine. Um, I don't remember her occupation, but I do know that her mental state was very healthy, and I'm very glad for that. The worst thing would be for her to fall back in from something so horrible.
That's true. It's very true. And it's good to hear that, and just wish her well. Now, for those of you who are just joining us, we have Jim with us. Jim is a former Planet X cult member, and to the best of my knowledge, I haven't really seen many interviews of people who are actually part of a cult like this. You don't hear about them. You don't hear about Nibiru or Planet X cults. You hear about groups that maybe are researching Planet X. You hear about groups who are supporting Planet X researchers, but very rarely do you hear from somebody who's actually part of a group that considered themselves very much a cult. They had a set of beliefs. They believed that the Earth was going to be destroyed by Nibiru, the Destroyer, Planet X, Wormwood from the Bible, in the Book of Revelation. And, of course, nothing has come out that has shown any proof that there is any body in our solar system that doesn't belong here. And I'm perplexed, Jim, that so many people continue to want to believe that this is going to happen. And I'm not saying that there isn't a rogue planet that is on a huge elliptical, a path around our sun, maybe on a completely different plane than our planets. Of course, that's entirely possible. But the question is it here now? And I very much say no. And that's the conclusion that you came to. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Just an overwhelming majority of the people that spew these kind of, I guess, their version of facts, to me, they're all the same. And all the videos are very fear-mongering. There might be a select few that just want to get the information out type of thing, but, for me, no.
Great. Well, I understand you're off in a couple of minutes here, and I'm looking at my watch, and it's about that time. I wish we had more time, but I know you have. You just texted me that you have an Uber waiting, so maybe I shouldn't tell everybody that. But
All right, yeah.
I understand. So, Jim, I really want to thank you again for being on the show. Would you be open to coming back and talking some more? Because I feel like I didn't have an opportunity to really get deeper into some of the things I wanted to ask you, especially as it's connected to to this particular cult. I want to know more about the leader and those kinds of things. And would you be open to doing something like that? If not, I totally understand.
Yeah, of course. I'm always open to talking to you, Jeff.
Well, that's great. We'll go ahead and set it up. We'll talk off air and get that done. So, again, thank you very much, Jim, for being with us, and thank you for being a voice and a reason, a singular voice out there, in the wilderness that's standing for something that's very important, something that's needed, something that is is very, very unique. I've never heard anyone like you before come on a show and talk about this kind of stuff. And it's just my pleasure that, by the grace of God, that you and I got hooked up. And, I really don't do much but let people come on and, they're really what it's all about. And I want to thank you, man, for being so brave.
No problem, Jeff. I'm happy to share, my side of the coin, I guess. And you are a very truthful channel. That's why I'm open to talk to you. You're one of the few that, while you might not be frequent uploader, your videos have truth to them, and that's what matters.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You have a great night tonight, and I wish you all the well, Jim. We'll talk to you very soon, okay?
Sounds good, Jeff. I look forward to it.
All right, thanks, my friend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And again, that was Jim, a fellow we've had on the Nemesis Project, our YouTube channel, where we've released 2 prior videos of his harrowing adventure with a cult that dealt specifically with Planet X. And y'all heard it. He said he's going to come back. He's going to come back and he wants to talk more. I still feel like I haven't really got deep enough into what I wanted to talk to him about. And hopefully he's open to doing that. It could be really painful for people to talk about experiences like that. It could be embarrassing. Sometimes it makes them feel stupid for the choices, they made thinking that the world was going to end. And it's tough to talk about. This guy's brave enough to come on a show like this. And, I hope this word gets out. I hope that people really listen to what this guy is saying. He's a real deal. He's a guy that people need to listen to who are dealing with anxiety about this whole Planet X phenomenon, what's going on. It just doesn't end, month after month, week after week, year after year. You keep hearing the same things over and over again, and nothing ever happens. What does that do to a person, especially a person who's very sensitive, like Jim is, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are going through what he's going through. Maybe not so much part of a cult like he was, but in their own house, by themselves, listening to these videos late at night, having nightmares and worried about things happening. Put your faith, put your trust in something that's eternal. Put your faith and trust in something that's really full of life, full of goodness, full of love. Well, thank you very much for being part of our show tonight. Look forward to talking to you very soon. Again, this is Jeff at the Nemesis Project. Thank you very much for being with us. We wish you all a very good night, and God bless.